Over the years, with all the new games Bethesda has released, they tend to upgrade the gameplay mechanics and features. With Fallout 3's gun combat back in 2008 being something you would not dare bring home back to your parents, to the release of Fallout 4 when the gun combat was overhauled greatly. Enough for me to say that possibly it has the best combat out of any Bethesda games to date. And now with the release of Starfield, we can see again, they have made massive improvements. And if you're like me, I could not be more excited. So today I'm going to be breaking down the combat for you and wasting no time, so let's jump straight into it. Now, as we look into our inventory, we're going to be able to see the types of weapons that we have and what type of weapon damage they do. We have physical type damage, which is reflected by the symbol here, and these are going to be your standard bullet guns. They will be producing standard damage across the board with no real special effects. We have the energy type weapons, which is reflected by this symbol here. This type of damage is going to be effective against enemies with shields, but also melt their health down as well. And if you're in combat and see these multicolored shots fly past you, you know you're getting attacked by energy type weapons. And for the last damage type, we have electromagnetic, which is shown by this symbol here. This type of damage is going to be very similar to your energy type weapons, but what you'll notice with weapons that have this type of damage is going to be more of a continuous beam rather than single bullet shots. And obviously we have explosive, which will be coming from your grenades, your mines, and also some of the heavy weapons you can get. And boy, the sounds and visuals of the explosions are better than ever. Now with the weapon type damage, this also translates across to your armor, showing your damage type resistance. But also what you're going to notice is a bunch of secondary stats below. We have thermal, which is about how well your armor is going to cope in the hot and cold temperatures, with it being associated with positive and negative numbers, not specific temperature. We have airborne, which is assumed to be related to the fact that some of the creatures possess disease tags. So when you get near them, they'll have some sort of toxic aura around them that's going to penetrate your armor. And also some of the planets are going to be very noxious as well. There is corrosive, which is going to be your resistance to anything acidic and toxic. And who knows, maybe we could be seeing some acid rain. And for you Fallout players, we have radiation. And I'm sure you all are very aware that this is going to be your radiation resistance. Now a tip for you if you're trying to figure out if any of the planets you want have any of these effects. Look down to the left side where the watch screen is and you'll notice these little symbols here. This is going to be showing you if there's any thermal, corrosive, radiation or airborne effects on this biome. So just keep that in mind. Now, I would be absolutely lying to you to say that I was not hyped for this game, with one of the reasons being how fluid the combat and mobility are. As we run up the ramps, as we get shot down by the spacer punks, you can see that we're able to slide into cover. Instead of running up behind cover and pressing crouch, now you're able to sprint, hold crouch and slide in, which is really going to add to that combat immersion. And funny enough, it gives me those Gears of War vibes. Look, I get it. That was the worst example possible, but it was the first thing that came to my mind. But I'm really happy they added this into the game. Also in classic Bethesda fashion, the enemies go hide and cover. Now as we leap over this box, you're going to notice something strange when we fire. The bullets are seemingly shooting on an angle and locking onto the enemy. Personally, I think this is a bullet pathing issue, but some people seem to think that this is related to a skill. But I have my doubts, as when we keep on shooting, the bullets start coming from everywhere. Another nice little feature that they've added is every planet and moon has a different gravity pull, and how you use that to your advantage is up to you. For example, we're currently in a space station with zero gravity, and we're face to face with one of those pesky spacers who's coming at you with a melee weapon. I'd like to point out in this scenario that we're using a physical damage weapon, and as we start shooting, it's allowing us to create distance between us and the enemy, allowing us to really take advantage of the zero gravity. But the one thing I'd like to point out is if you're using any other different damage type, you're going to get different results, with the main example being the energy type weapons. These type of weapons are going to be giving you a whole lot less kickback and also more stable shooting. So going back to the scenario that we were in before, you'll find that you most likely will be getting hit. And now what I think is going to be one of the funnest parts of Starfield, we have the booster pack. And is definitely going to be one of the skills I drop all my points in early on. This is a massive key focus on how you're going to be exploring the planets and getting around. It's also going to be helping you get into those high up places where you won't be able to reach by foot. The jetpack is also going to be giving you a lot of edge in combat. And when you mix the gravity and booster pack together, it becomes a beautiful symphony of destruction, allowing you to rain death from above. Now do keep in mind that this is a skill in the technology skill tree. So as a suggestion, I'll say dump your points in boost pack early on to really maximize that fun gameplay. Now, as we take a look at the new Starfield stealth system, there's something important I'd like to talk about, which is the fact that we're able to now pickpocket in real time. As we are all well aware of the previous Bethesda games, it was more of a stationary click, pick, and leave. But not only that, we're able to also sneak through vents, roofs, and walls for alternative paths to take down our enemies. It really seems like they're doubling down to make this game as immersive as possible for the player. And I am not one to complain about that, because it seems like we're finally gonna have a stealth system which actually feels like stealth. Now, when we're talking about weapons as a whole, the first thing I'd like to touch on about is the cutter. This is going to be the starting weapon you get in Starfield, and we all know it's going to be primarily used for gathering resources. But this also can be used as a last resort when you get into a bit of a sticky situation. Don't get too excited though, because this is going to be doing minimal damage. And by minimal, I mean 4 DPS. This is a weapon that we're going to have on us all the time. And for some people's disappointment, you're not going to be able to mod this weapon, with improvements coming from skills such as geology. And before you all start screaming, how the hell do you know? At the bottom right of the weapon information, it has the amount of mod slots that are going to be available for this particular weapon. And for the cutter, there are 0. And as we go through a couple more weapons, you can see there's going to be a variant amount of mod slots for each. Now, the ones that you saw that were green were reflecting the amount of mods that were installed, with these mods being shown at the bottom of the gun information, saving you time trying to figure out what has been installed. Another cool little feature I'd like to briefly talk about is the reactive environments. As you see, we're currently in sub-zero temperatures, and when we shoot the water barrel, it sprays and freezes, leaving behind an area of effect and causing your enemies to freeze. Now, knowing there's going to be toxic biomes in this game, do you think it's going to cause an explosion like in Witcher 3 when you light up the poison gas? Let me know your thoughts down below. Now, with the inclusion of neurostrikes as a skill in this game, Unarmed Combat has never been more powerful and more accessible. With it being a skill in the physical tree, you're now able to power your punches up until you explode somebody off the face of the earth. I mean, how can you not love that? And for you pesky pirates that want to know all about the spaceships, check my video link up the top, which is going to explain everything in detail. To summarize the combat, in my opinion, I feel like they've done a massive step forward. With Microsoft stepping in, I feel like that 1 year delay has really solidified the look of this game. I'll say it once and then I'll say it again. I cannot wait for this game to drop. Even if this game comes out a bit rocky, it's not going to stop me from playing it. Because I mean, what's a Bethesda game without bugs? And I'm not talking about Fallout 76. Oh god. Let me know your thoughts about the combat below. Do you think it's a big step up from the other games? Or do you think more needs to be put into it? And remember, at the end of the day, it's what you get out the game, not what someone else does. There's always going to be a fester of negativity, but don't let that sway what you want to do. For everyone that's made it this far into the video, I thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that like button, and if you haven't done so yet, subscribe because there's more Starfield in the tank. I hope you all have a fantastic day, and buckle in boys, because we're going to space.